All right, guys. Gaius Julius Caesar commentaries on the Gallic War. This is Julius Caesar's commentary number 13. So now they've actually had some combat. They've actually engaged with the Helvetii because the Helvetii are kind of a dishonorable people. They're kind of sneaky. Like they made an agreement. Hey, we're just trying to pass through. But then now they're kind of being bullies, so to say. So this battle ended that he might be able to come up with the remaining forces of the Helvetii. Okay, they caught the fourth canton. Remember, the other three cantons passed, and so they were able to catch the fourth canton. This battle ended that he might be able to come up with the remaining forces of the Helvetii. He procures a bridge to be made across the Saone, or Saone, Saone, and thus leads his army over. The Helvetii, confused by his sudden arrival when they found that he had effected in one day what they themselves had with the utmost difficulty accomplished in 20, namely the crossing of the river, send ambassadors to him. So they're trying to they send ambassadors. They're trying to talk. At the head of which embassy was Divico, who had been commander of the Helvetii in the war against Cassius. Oh, remember Cassius has he holds a special place in Caesar's heart. So he thus treats with Caesar. So he thus treats with Caesar that, in quotes, this is what he tells Caesar: if the Roman people would make peace with the Helvetii, they would go to that part and there remain, where Caesar might appoint and desire them to be. But if he should persist in persecuting them with war, that he ought to remember both the ancient disgrace of the Roman people and the characteristic valor of the Helvetii. As to his having attacked one canton by surprise, at a time when those who had crossed the river could not bring assistance to their friends, that he ought not on that account to ascribe very much to his own valor or despise them, that they had so learned from their sires and ancestors as to rely more on valor than on artifice of stratagem, or on art. Okay, like he's saying, so he's kind of saying, like, don't you remember how what happened to your ancestors, what the Helvetii did to the Roman people before? Like, don't think because you snuck up on us that had to do with you being like you having some overwhelming strength. You just use strategy, which, I mean, strategy in war is strength. So but if he should persist in persecuting them with the war, that he ought to remember both the ancient disgrace of the Roman people and the characteristic valor of the Helvetii. As to his having attacked one canton by surprise, at a time when those who had crossed the river could not bring assistance to their friends, that he ought not on that account to ascribe very much to his own valor or despise them, that they had so learned from their sires and ancestors as to rely more on valor than on artifice or stratagem. Wherefore let him not bring it to pass that the place where they were standing should acquire a name from the disaster of the Roman people and the destruction of their army, or transmit the remembrance of such an event to posterity. So I think he's threatening him, Loki. I think he's saying, like, hey, like I think he's kind of talking shit. He's saying, remember what we did to you? Remember that day? Like, because what happens if like, let's say, for instance, in America, the Battle of Gettysburg, that land doesn't become holy in a sense, but it becomes remembered. I'm gonna save it because that's the end. Actually, Caesar doesn't reply. At least it's not in this entry number 13. But as I read a little further, the first thing it says, to these words Caesar thus replied. So that commander, what's his name? They sent him over. Divico. Divico. It's a cool name. Divico. One of the ambassadors of the Helvetii. So he said, hey, let's agree. You leave us alone over here. Give us his place. Promise you're going to leave us in peace. If not, you remember what happened. Don't act like you're stronger than us. You attacked when you knew the three other cantons weren't going to be able to come and help them. So you kind of, it was more based off strategy than your valor, than your actual strength, whether strength in man. So very interesting. So the war is being sprung. The Helvetii versus the Roman people. Interesting.